here with J.T. Abernathy, who is a member of the Ann Arbor Potters Guild. J.T., when did you first become aware of the Potters Guild?
At Cranbrook, when I was a student, I believe it was in 49 or 50, I had two classmates, and one was named Mary Kring and one was named Harvey Littleton.
Oh, Harvey Littleton, that's a very familiar name.
And they would ask our teacher, Maya Grotel, technical questions about clay and glazes. And they were trying to help the Potters Guild get underway. And actually the Potters Guild was started before then by 7 or 9 ladies who were rented a garage and just started a little studio, and they called it the Goat's Nest. But I didn't know that until I came to Ann Arbor, and I didn't even know where Ann Arbor was at the time. I had heard of it, but Mary Kring later became the first teacher here, and there was some concern about whether they wanted to take students or not. And the ladies who started it originally just wanted a place to make some pottery, and they hadn't had any formal instruction that I'm aware of. I only knew 2 of those ladies. One was named Pauline Elliott, and the other lady, I only know her as Mrs. Laporte. She was the wife of a physicist at U of M, a professor that I later became acquainted with and quite fond of, actually. And anyway, I came to Ann Arbor in 1951 to teach at the University of Michigan. And
this was after you finished school at Cranbrook?
Well, after I got my bachelor's, I went back 2 summers to get a master's. That master's was in kiln building. And the Potters Guild was on the ground floor and the basement of a little house, a carriage house, that belonged to a lady named, we called her B. Nichols, Mrs. Nichols, and she and her brother owned State Street, including the Nichols Arcade. And I said Mary Kring came to teach. Well, see, I taught at U of M, and then they had the night classes. They called them extension division classes. Mm-hmm. And some of the people from the Potters Guild took those classes. And so I became acquainted with the place, and that was in the early, I came in 51, and that acquaintance started around 52 or 53. So they didn't have a gas kiln. All they had was a electric kiln, a wire kiln, and I built them what was then called a glow bar kiln,
This was in the facility at Nichols Arcade?
No, not in the arcade. In a carriage house behind Mrs. Nichols' house.
Okay.
And she lived on Maynard Street, and there were none of the high-rises there. She had a grass lawn, and it was still, none of the development had started at all. This was very early. And then I later built them a gas kiln, which is the small kiln that we use here until we got the present kilns.
Oh, so it was moved from that location to this location when they acquired this building?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know where to go from there.
So when you finished school, you were involved helping the guild, but you also started a business, didn't you? A clay supply business?
I only taught at U of M for 4.5 years. So in the Christmas of 1956, all of the officers that were in the Potter's Guild came to my house on Christmas morning and gave me those scales I still use over there on the table.
Oh, those are wonderful.
And they told me I had been offered a couple of good jobs, one in New York City College and another one somewhere else. I don't even remember. It was in New York also. And I had to have a job, but they said if I would stay and work with them in Ann Arbor, if ever I needed a place to work later in life, I could have a free place to work.
How wonderful.
Well, I did that, and I maintained this shop for 40 years.
Well, and then you built a second kiln here once they moved into the facility. Yeah. And I remember those kilns because when I first started coming to the guild, those beautiful old kilns were still here in all their glory.
Well, they were very fine pieces of equipment, but of course they had no... The ones that they have now are serving the guild much better than those did. But anyway, I started my studio on State Street on July 4th, 1956. And that was after I had decided to stay in Ann Arbor. And I ran a clay business, a clay processing business. And I sold clay to mostly in Michigan. And I wanted to build a place to make large pottery, and of course I wanted to build a place to do my clay. But Ann Arbor began to get built up, and I couldn't get semis in the alley anymore. So I bought a small farm in Whitmore Lake and had my warehouse out there. And it was a great deal of work. All of that material had to be brought to town and then processed and delivered. And I also made some very large pots. And then I don't think I ever made a penny making pottery, but we sold an awful lot of clay, and we ran a successful business. And all of that time I took apprentices. And I think there must have been probably 55 people through the studio in that 50 years I was there.
So now you have your, I'm going to just pan over here, you have your own special corner of the guild, and you still come in every morning.
Well, yes.
To work.
I try to work some every day, but as you know, I'm quite old now, and I also am. The Kellogg Eye Center says I'm blind, and I'm not complaining, but those are pretty serious handicaps.
Yeah, but you see things in a different way. You've talked to me a little bit about that. You now see things
I see,
almost like an impressionist would in terms of blocks of color.
I see color very vividly, and I see space completely different. And both of those things are after I lost a great deal of vision. But the guild was in that carriage house up on which now is a back of a hairdressing shop on Maynard, and this place here was a foundry. And I don't know, I conned the secretary into putting $50 into an account, calling it the Ann Arbor Building Fund. And this was, they said, oh, it won't work. Well, the guild had 2 members who ran a fancy gift shop on South U, and within a couple of weeks, they had $2,500 in the building fund. And then we had a very industrious and bright lady named Harriet Waite. And she was very good at the stock market, and the stock market then was not the stock market we know now. And she told the guild, if you will let me invest this money, if we lose any, I will pay it back.
That's a pretty amazing story.
She was a very savvy lady and quite well off. And so they bought this building, I don't know for how much, but it's worth a great deal more now.
Oh, I'm sure it's worth a great deal more now. And it has served the guild wonderfully as a home for, I think, what it's now about 45 people who are members, some of them active and some of them less so, but it's a wonderful community of people who are making work.
Now, Harvey Littleton is very responsible for getting the place known, and also he was very instrumental in getting it incorporated and set up as a nonprofit.
Well, then he defected to glass.
Well,
along the way.
Well, he was a very interesting guy. He had a degree in sculpture from U of M, and I'm quite sure he had a degree in industrial design. And he had been to Cranbrook before to study sculpture. And then he went into glass after his father passed away, and he became very famous. He also left Cranbrook and went to Wisconsin as head of the ceramics department there.
Is he still there?
Oh no, he's passed away.
Is he?
Several years ago. And the early members worked extremely hard. I mean, everyone hustled, as they still do. And I don't know what else I can tell you about
it. It's a credit to you and to those early members that this facility is here today.
I'm sorry?
It's a credit to you and to the early members that we have this facility here today.
Well, I'm not interested in claiming a great deal of credit. They were nice to me, and I tried to be very nice and straight with them.
I want you to tell me, just before we finish this interview.
The what?
I want you to tell me about your last birthday and what happened on your last birthday when you were riding the bus, because I think that's the most wonderful story.
My last birthday?
Yeah, your most recent birthday. You were riding the bus, and what happened on the bus on your birthday?
I'm sorry, I don't remember.
You don't remember? I remember.
Yeah.
The nurses. There's a group of nurses.
Oh, a group of nurses.
That always ride the bus at the same time of the morning.
Well, I ride the bus at the same time they do.
There you go.
And they look after me.
They do. And they had something special for you on your birthday, didn't they?
Well, they gave me goodies and
They have a cake? Did they have a cake for you?
Yes, they had a small cake for me.
Yeah. Because you come in here every morning.
Well, I try to, but some days I'm just not up to it.
Yeah.
Or some days I decide to goof off.
Uh-oh. Well, thank you so much, JT, for sharing some of your insight with us about the history of the Guild and about you. Thank you.